All right, last part of chapter 5. So, part 4, the ancient Hebrews, and then a summary of the chapter. So, the ancient Hebrews, or what they're also called the Israelites, lived south of Phoenicia in the area occupied by present-day Israel, Lebanon. And because of the location, the Hebrews were deeply influenced by the civilizations of Mesopotamia and Egypt. They're in between those two areas, so they get a lot of their ideas from Mesopotamia and Egypt. So, according to tradition, the forefather of the Hebrews is Abraham, and he grew up in a Mesopotamian city in the city of Ur. Later on, Abraham moved to Israel, or to Canaan, and he took a lot of the Hebrews with him. So, unlike other ancient peoples, the Hebrews did not believe in many gods, so they were not polytheistic. Instead, they believed in the one universal God, who both was just and all-powerful. So the new religion was called Judaism, and Jews did not believe that God had human characteristics like the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia and Egypt. So Jews saw their God as an invisible but powerful force or spirit that created the world and that demanded proper moral conduct. So monotheism is the belief in one God, and became the basis for several later religions, including Christianity and Islam. So the Ten Commandments. So the early history of the Hebrews and their relationship with God is told in the first books of the Bible, known as the Old Testament. So the Christian Bible is the Old Testament, New Testament. The Jewish Bible is just the Old Testament, the first 5 books. So according to the Bible, the ancient Hebrews migrated to Egypt to escape a food shortage or from a drought, and they remained in Egypt for hundreds of years. Eventually, what a lot of them believe is they became enslaved by the Egyptians. So their leader Moses, later on, there's a whole another story. Moses later took them out of Egypt, and he's the one who frees them from slavery. So according to the Bible, Moses also presented the Hebrews with the 10 Commandments, which came directly from God. So these commandments forbid stealing, murder, adultery, and other forms of immoral behavior. So that's going back to this moral conduct that we talked about earlier. They also commanded the Hebrews to worship the one God and to keep the day of Sabbath, or the day of rest, holy. So when Hebrews returned to Israel from Egypt around 1000 BC, they found it was occupied by a new group of people. This led to a series of wars, ending with the Jewish reconquest of Israel, the original land of Abraham. So the Hebrews then established their capital at Jerusalem, and they built the temple there to worship God. So some of the things, examine each of the following commandments that explain how it's important to create a moral society. So honor your father and mother. You have to have some type of order. And in your beginning societies, what you had was the family was the main center, and that's kind of where everything came from. So this creates order in society. Children had to listen to their parents. Thou shalt not kill. Very simple one. All civilizations pretty much had rules against murder, and they all know that it was immoral to kill another human. So, thou shalt not steal. It was important for society to have trust. So if you couldn't trust any of your neighbors because they were going to steal everything, your society is going to fall apart. So people can't be stealing from each other. And then, thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor. So in this one, you can't have society that goes around lying about your neighbor. So in other words, bearing false witness is saying that this person did something when they actually did. So in the end, what we have here is the 4 different river valley civilizations, and the location of Mesopotamia. It's in the Middle East. It's along the Tigris and Euphrates River. Egypt is, of course, along the Nile in the northeast part of Africa. The Indus River Valley is in West India, and then China is in the East India along the Honghe River. Agriculture, a lot of it's going to be very similar. What the Mesopotamians had was barley and wheat. What the Egyptians had was barley and wheat. What the Indus River Valley had was barley, wheat, dates, and melons, so they had a couple. And China is different. They had millet and soybeans. Government-wise, Mesopotamia is going to be a theocracy. That's where the religious leaders rule. And in Egypt, you have a monarchy, and that one's kind of both, because the pharaohs did pass it down hereditary, but they were also seen as religious leaders. But they're considered a monarchy. The Indus River Valley was a theocracy, and then China was a monarchy, which had the dynasties. So these are going to be your early types of government, because these were the simplest ones to start and to follow. So contributions to Mesopotamia was a lot. So wheels, sailboat, tools of bronze. They gave us a 12-month calendar, and they also gave us writing. Egyptians, the different types of medicine they did since they did the embalming. They brought us hieroglyphics, pyramids, geometry, which they used to make the pyramids. Indus River Valley, first cotton clothes or cotton cloth. They were urban planners. They had sewage. They had plumbing. And then China gave us silks and pictograms. They gave us a lot more than that, but that's kind of some of the basic stuff. And then this is what we actually just did. So River Valley civilizations, the summary of everything. So the earliest humans survived by hunting and gathering their food. They used tools of wood, bone, and stone. That's why it's called the Stone Age. And they also learned how to make fire. About 10,000 years ago, the people of the Middle East developed the first agriculture and domesticated the animals during what's called the Neolithic Revolution. So a civilization is a form of human culture in which some people live in cities. They have complex social institutions. They use some type of writing and are skilled using science and technology. So the first civilizations arose in the river valleys, in these fertile river valleys where it's easier to farm. And they were favorable geographic conditions. They had mild climates, and this allowed farmers to grow a surplus of food. So the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians invented the wheel, sailboat, and cuneiform writing. The Egyptians developed advanced civilizations along the banks of the Nile. They built large stone pyramids for the afterlife of their ruler. They also had the pharaoh. They also developed a form of writing known as hieroglyphics. So other early civilizations developed along the Indus River in the Indian subcontinent and the Honghe River in China.